Hi, it's Julie Henricus, and I wanted to check in today about some thoughts I'm having about the future of the performing arts sector. As I'm taping this, it's April 2020. I know that when we do videos, we try to keep them timeless and so that people can watch them at any time. And most of my videos are exactly that. But in April 2020, we are dealing with a pandemic that has closed down the performing arts community. We don't know when it's going to reopen. We don't know what's going to happen. We know that people are, even if you reopen a theater, you we need people to feel comfortable and safe being in that theater, so that there's going to be a long process. As of this date, there's no vaccine, there's no sense of a system or a way of moving forward. And so a lot of people have lost work. A lot of people aren't able to think forward or to prepare or to do things. And I've been working in the performing arts for over 30 years. I never had this happen. After 9/11, theaters closed in New York for 3 days. But that was it. After the Boston Marathon bombing here, there was a day of disruption, a couple of days of disruption. But the arts are healing, and so the arts came back quickly. And now we can't have the arts come back in person. There are other ways of seeing the arts, and there's some conversations that are happening online about how effective those are. And, is theater, music and dance, or is it about assembly and you have to be in the room? So should we even be trying to do things? And I wanted to offer some ideas and some thoughts that I had about how we can move forward. Because no matter what happens, it's not going to be what it was. The world has shifted right now. And so, how can we embrace some of those shifts, grieve what was lost, and really rethink what the performing arts are moving forward? What in-person events? I mean, I'm also a writer, and I had all sorts of plans for April and was worried about it in January because I was busy every single weekend, and now I'm not busy every weekend, and I'm desperately missing seeing people and doing author events and things like that. So as we're looking at this changing world, I've been thinking about the silos that so much of our work is produced in, and how maybe the new model going forward, the healthier model, the more supportive model, will be thinking of things as umbrellas instead of silos. So a silo has hard walls and a structure that needs to be built and maintained, and it has to contain certain people, certain things, certain ideas, certain ways of doing things are within those silo walls. To get in, you need permission. You need to know the access code. You need to want to go, because otherwise it feels like it's a little bit formidable and it's not for you. An umbrella instead is something that you open up and that people can gather under and be protected. And an umbrella serves in both sunny and rainy days, so it can be an all-purpose thing. But when I think about an umbrella, I'm thinking about the opportunity to be more inclusive, to think differently, to break out what the expectations of the silo thinking are, and to sort of reimagine what the performing arts are going forward and what they can be. I should let you know that one of the things that I think about and that I'm hoping comes from this is that reaching out to people online and digitally is not something that we're only doing right now, but we'll get back to producing theater, and then that's how it will be. Because I think that the opportunity to engage with people online is a really, really interesting shift that organizations can take, but also that individual artists can take, or consortiums of artists can take. And there's creativity in what we can do and how we do that as well. And when I'm thinking about the when we look at the performing arts community, there are organizations, look at a triangle. There are organizations at the top of the triangle, and the organizations can include companies, they can include venues, they can include presenting organizations. They're the entities that create or present the work. And then we look at the artists and we look at the audiences. And both of those categories include a lot of different people. And for a long time, the organizations spoke to the artists and they spoke to the audiences. But the audiences and the artists weren't able to speak to each other. That's changed because of social media, but we hadn't really embraced or moved forward or thought about what that change can be. And now that we're all living with online communication as being how we're reaching out and how we're seeing people, I'm seeing some really interesting, thoughtful ways that artists are reaching out to audiences and having conversations. And those conversations can be in way of performances, can be in way of process, can be in way of new sorts of work being done. So embracing the web video as opposed to, the in-person event. I'm seeing people sort of learning how technology works and upping the game as far as, Zoom backgrounds or lighting or sound or anything else like that. I don't think being precious about what is possible supports or fuels us. You can certainly make any decision you want, but we've got to really not judge other people and how they're moving through this and what this is like. We need to be embracing of the whole. And I think that's one of the really important gifts that we can give ourselves in the community right now. But when I think about these umbrella versus silo thinking, there are a few specific reasons I think that this new model is an important one to consider. First of all, when you have that silo, you have to keep the walls up and you have to keep them maintained and you have to pay for them. And there are some entities that are going to be able to keep those walls up, and that there are other smaller entities that have tried to, because we've all been taught that, if you want to produce work, you need to create a company and you need to do this and you need to do that. And so we buy into the idea of having to have our own silos instead of looking at how we can go under an umbrella with other people, because maintaining those walls is a lot of work. It's a lot of administrative work. It takes some thoughtfulness. It takes some specific areas of expertise. And it's a lot to ask of a small organization who just wants to do the work. Even, I think silos also can be a metaphor for having seasons. People who feel like they need to announce in March what 3 shows they're going to do next year, because we're all used to thinking in seasons and subscribing and da-da-da-da-da. Well, do we need to do that? I mean, in the future for theater, for dance, for music, for other things, are there opportunities for smaller groups or even mid-sized groups to adjust, to create and produce a show at a time, a concert at a time, instead of feeling like they need to do on a schedule these 3 things? Can we build up the same enthusiasm for these organizations who are doing 1 or 2 projects a year, instead of they're on a regular basis giving us some product to react to? And I would argue that the umbrella model actually offers an opportunity for several people who are producing 1 or 2 shows, to be under the same umbrella so that they can market together, they can think together, they can work together, they can rent space together, they can do whatever needs to be done together. And that model is an interesting one as far as the capacity for smaller groups. Now, one of the other great things about this model, but it's a really important step, is that you need to understand what everyone's and share core beliefs or mission if you're under the same umbrella. So those core beliefs could be things like community, like we're all going to serve this specific neighborhood, and this is what the umbrella is. So who's doing work? That's got to be one of your core missions. When even under an umbrella, you don't want everyone there, and not everyone's going to be able to contribute or to work together. And you do need to be mindful of that because the work is hard. But I also think that given the ideas of why are we all doing this? Do we understand our why? Um, that motivating and moving us forward is a tremendously important opportunity when we're thinking about how this umbrella model might work. Another thing that I think this umbrella model offers, another idea that this offers, is that it can help us embrace the age we're living in. And this age is a complicated one as far as both entertainment and art goes, and how we process it and how we live with it. And so by embracing this time we're in and figuring out other ways of getting our work out there, the umbrella model can also support different revenue streams. Now, I know that some artists just roll their eyes and they don't like to think about revenue streams, or, they want the art to be pure. But let me offer you this. If you've taken a class with me, you know that two of the things that I talk about a lot are the fact that you need to understand your why you're doing your work all the time, and that becomes your guidepost for your entire life. But you also, understanding how to build your craft is something that most artists understand. We all are comfortable with developing craft. But there are two other aspects, the two other C's that I talk about. And the second C is community, and understanding your community and how you serve it and how your work serves it, and how the community serves you and fuels you as an artist. And the third one are channels. And the channels are the way you get your work out there. And in traditional performing arts models, we think of the live performance as the primary channel. Sometimes there'll be a CD of work or a DVD of work or other things, but those are ancillary, those are extras. Given what we're going through right now, can we rethink what some of those channels are? And instead of extra, can those be in addition to? And can those be other forms of or ways of getting your work out there? So I'm seeing some people doing a lot of free content online, and I'm all about free content and getting people interested. But at some point, if you're doing a reading series, for example, can you ask people to contribute? Can you put a bigger event online with, a small suggested donation of $10? And then once you get more people able to access and to pay those smaller amounts, it actually can be a fairly substantial pool of money that can help support the work you're doing, or you could redistribute it to different artists and think about different ways of doing that. So this is a really interesting time to explore those options and to think about those options and what they could and should be moving forward. What's been doesn't have to be what's going to be. And the umbrella model is a way of really exploring what's going to be. Another interesting aspect of the umbrella model that I've been thinking about is that if we have an umbrella, and suppose there's a group of people, a theater company who's part of the umbrella, but the artists who work with that company also have specific gifts. So I'll give you a really specific example. If you've got a theater company that does new work, and they start doing a reading series and having people, pay a monthly fee to be part of the reading series and the conversations around the work, right? But then the company has 5 different artists who do it. And one of the artists, suppose, is a vocal coach. And so under this umbrella, and where the platform that you put the work on and how you let people know about the platform, could that vocal coach also have some videos up and have a way of selling lessons or talking to people? Could somebody else's artwork be part of that platform? Could somebody else's ability to show you how to videotape at home and light things so that you look good, could that be another part of what is offered as the services on this umbrella? So that instead of saying it's going to be this specific project is what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about the project, but we're also going to let you know about the other people and what they do. And if that's of interest to you, audience member, you can buy their services, you can support their work, you can also follow them here. And under this umbrella, we're going to keep talking about all of this so that we can figure out and break down and open up and raise up the work of people and figure out other ways to pay people. If you are working on a budget for a project, you know that contributed income and contributed from grants, from foundations, from individuals, plus earned income, and earned income is from classes, it's from performances, it's from ticket sales, it's from concessions, has to be greater than or equal to how much it costs you to do the event. Those numbers are tough. And I think that that's why a lot of people freak out at the idea of producing their own work or figuring things out. But having that exercise and sort of widening what's possible with how you're going to get that earned revenue is such an important opportunity. So don't neglect that, and don't limit what you can be. Think with the umbrella model, think really creatively about what brings in where, how this goes, who gets what, how it breaks down. You know, it could be a model that everybody, once money's brought in, it just gets redistributed or it gets saved for projects. There's a lot of ways of doing it. And I do love the idea of offering people glimpses or samples or making things available. But I also want to recognize that artists aren't paid enough, and that money is an exchange, is a creative, an energy exchange between the artist and the audience, and that it's an appropriate exchange in many cases. And so don't not ask for money at certain junctures. Don't just give it all away for free. Figure out how you can make some money on this as well, so that you can continue to support your work, you can support the other people in the umbrella, and you can think more creatively. You can have people come in and do a project or leave or do a project, or have artists who are offering something specific that fills in a need or does something. You can have, there's a knowledge gap I talk about when I teach classes and when I coach people. And that knowledge gap in the arts, we tend to think we need to figure it out ourselves. Like that by having talent or being called by the muse, you should automatically know how to market, or you should know how to do this or do that. And you don't automatically know that. And trying to figure it out on your own can be a tremendous waste of energy. So you can fill that knowledge gap up by having other people involved, or by learning it yourself and using other tools to do that. I mean, the reason I created the Your Ladder subscription, and I charge $35 a month for it, is so that artists could learn things like budgeting, like marketing, like planning, like promotion, time management at a rate that they could afford. And I could make all these classes accessible to them, so that if they get to the point where they want to produce their own work or they want to create an umbrella, they can do that. That's why I've done what I did. Instead of, I started off charging for each class and doing that, but I think that the subscription model is better because people can spend as much or as little time as they want taking these classes or filling the knowledge gap that they need, so that they can then go out and produce work or understand how it's produced or think differently about their own careers. I'm really dedicated to the idea of serving artists in order to help them build the confidence for their creative journey. And again, I think a lot of folks know about craft, but they don't know about the strategies to move forward. So the Your Ladders subscription model has those classes. My Breaking Through program is 8 weeks. It includes group coaching, and that's about building those strategies as well. So there's a lot of different ways of doing it, and there are also other online resources for sure. But understanding what it takes and filling in your knowledge gaps is really, really important. And understanding you don't have to figure it out yourself. You can have other people help you. Please don't feel like you're on an island by yourself on this one. There's a lot of folks out there who want you to succeed and can help you with those tools. We all have different abilities, and things are easy for me that are difficult for you, and vice versa. So find the people who fill in the gaps and make sure they're part of your umbrella. There are people who get very excited about the idea of creating this website for your umbrella's work to live on. So make sure they're part of your umbrella thinking, and use their passion, but at the same time know enough about your own journey so that you can move forward and you can make sure that everything's serving what you wanted to serve, which is your creative journey. This is a tremendous opportunity to really proactively and intentionally think about inclusion and what that means by who's in the umbrella. With silos, we tend to create structures, whether we mean to or not, that people feel excluded from or that they don't feel welcome into. With umbrellas, there can certainly be feelings and about, you're not allowed under here. But I would argue and hope that people understand that that is so counterproductive, and that is so not where we need to go. And as we're looking at, as I said at the beginning, this is April 2020. We need to get through this. We need to get through this together. We need to figure out these new structures. As I said, we need to grieve what's lost and then reimagine what's future. But as we're reimagining what's in the future, it needs to include inclusivity as a core value. And that inclusivity can be on many different areas. It can be genres, right? It can be race, it can be gender, it can be gender identity, it can be age, it can be where you live. The wonderful thing about the internet is where you live isn't really important. If you're doing this right, you can build up audiences all over the world, and you can still do your live performances, and people who aren't here would want to be here, but they're still going to support your work. But when we're thinking about inclusion, we really need to think about being mindful about not just welcoming people into our space. It's more than that. It's about making sure that everybody is not just invited to dinner. Let's use the dinner metaphor. But everybody is going to choose the space together, set the table together, create the menu together, go shopping together, cook together, and then eat together. So if I've already prepared the meal and I invite people to come, then it's wonderful of me to invite them, but they're not really participatory and they're not really part of the preparation. And art making and the performing arts are the whole thing. It's not just the performance, especially for other artists. Now, your audiences, you're going to invite them to the dinner, but artists, this umbrella model actually offers us the opportunity to really think about menu planning together and cooking together and shopping together and setting the table together and making it together. And so it needs to have a broader lens. Inclusion needs to be part of that decision making. If we don't really embrace that, we're missing a huge opportunity to create the world that needs to be moving forward. So I would encourage you strongly to also add that to your umbrella thinking about how can I be more inclusive? How can I make myself a little bit uncomfortable at this? How can I broaden what's possible? This is not easy thinking. This is challenging thinking, but we're all up to a challenge. The artists that I know are the strongest, hardest working, empathetic, wonderful people. And the arts are going to help us heal after this is all over. So I want the artists to play the role that they need to play and they can play. And I want them to get the support that they need moving forward. And so this umbrella model, which I'm still working on, but instead of the silos, I think is the way forward and something for you to think about. If you have questions or you want to talk about this, I'm always happy to talk about this sort of thing. If you're looking to fill in some knowledge gaps, I'll put in some of the information below on the programs that I have, and I'm also do individual coaching if that would be helpful. And if you're not sure where you're fitting in or how this is going to be, I am going to strongly suggest that you get out a notebook and you start writing things down. Just start brainstorming what's possible. Don't think about what's been. Think about what could be and the role you can play in making it what it could be. So you take care of yourselves. I will see you soon in another video, but I love thinking about umbrellas over silos, and I hope you do too. Bye now.